What's up, y'all? Welcome to Tichel Talk. So, recently married and 2 months in, and I've lived in Pico for about 4 years. And all of a sudden, I'm having like spiritual questions, concerns, a new awakening within myself, realizing even though you're married, you basically realize what triggers you, what your questions, like having that second person there really brings out feelings within oneself. Okay, so to tell you where I came from, I am a Baal Teshuvah Mutt, Kiruv Mutt. I'm just doing plain on words. Okay, so what does that mean? So as a young girl, around 7 years old, my parents were exploring religious Judaism, and I was very inspired. I was like, these families have like beautiful Shabbos tables, and they're so connected. And I loved the open door mentality of how the kids would their parents were not helicopter parents. And I think that was the first thing that I put on a pedestal. Like they would just walk over and be like, bye mom, dad, I'm going to so-and-so's house on Shabbos. And I'll be like, why can't I have that life? So I basically idolized the life before I spiritually caught on. And then I experienced this concept of Hashem. Hashem's everywhere. He's up, down, down, right, left, and all around, here, there, and everywhere. And that's what we found. And then, I went to Chabad Hebrew school. But those Shabbos tables, a lot of them were in the yeshivish community. And I had a lot of mixed opinions about things. And I went to Camp Sternberg as a kid. Basically, it was like a religious-based Yaakov girls camp, and the girls were like, whoa, sit on my bed, you come from public school, that is so cool, tell me all about it. And I was like, I'm the nerdy kid from public school, what are you talking about? You guys are the cool ones, I want to be mainstream religious. And I was just like, so a lot of my Judaism, if we're being real, came from a place of wanting belonging. And I just didn't fit into the secular world from the get-go. So if we're going to be real honest, the questions are starting to come up and they're starting to boil up. And I want to be authentic and truthful. Some of my early years of camps, so I told you about Chabad, I told you about the yeshivish Kiruv shuls and the Kiruv rabbis, all that. So the first camp I went to was a JCC camp, Camp Young Judea, and I also did Camp Interlaken at one point, but it was like so Camp Young Judea, and I didn't fit in. A lot of these kids were wild, there was boys and girls and co-ed, and I just didn't fit in. And I think that was like first realization, like maybe I like this religious thing, and I don't know what gave me this idea, because there is a culture to religious, and then the year after I went to camp, I don't remember if it's Nagila or Camp Sternberg. Camp Sternberg was like the base Yaakov girl camp where I was not from a religious background. And then Camp Nagila was where the counselors were religious, but I was not religious. Like I wore pants and stuff like that. But Camp Sternberg, I had to get all skirts for that camp. So you can imagine how I was flowing through my life. I know this is like pretty detailed because like how could you go to so many camps as a kid? This is insane. This life story is crazy. Like when I meet a Baal Teshuvah, I'm like, okay, so you went to college and then some rabbi told you to become religious and then you go to Israel and then you study. I'm like, yeah, that's not my story. So I realized that I never felt fully religious because I felt like what kids feel like when they're born that way. And I never felt fully secular either because my parents started when I was 7 having proper Friday night Shabbos meals, and we would light the candles, and we would sing Shalom Aleichem, and I had to go to shul on Shabbos, and I couldn't have friends from public school because I didn't like hang out with them at home. And then on Sunday, I had to go to Sunday school every week. So you imagine like how my upbringing started. And then like I went to all these camps, and then I got a little older, and I did C-Teen, Chabad, USY, that was conservative. And I realized when people would stand up, oh, how many people believe in intermarriage? How many people don't? I was like, oh, wow, I'm not really conservative. Okay, so where did we leave from there? And then I did BBYO, and where I only did it in junior year of high school because my mom said, it's too wild. And I said, Mom, if it's too wild and 90% of those Jewish young professionals go there or they're super religious, too religious for my background, then how do you expect me to get married in the future? I always use the marriage thing. So anyways, that is my mix. You see how the mixing and moshing and mutt comes out, right? So then, guess what I do? I did NCSY. There was only 10 kids in the class with this Rabbi Lashak. The stories would make, I was so excited to go. They make you shiver, like this chills down your spine. And I was like, I'd be like that. And I'd be like, oh, that was so inspiring. So I did all of that. And NCSY, this one special Shabbaton that I did, or convention, it was called Yachri Kala. It was like a learning program for a week. And I won't say it changed my life, but I was like, I felt like I belonged. For the first time, there was religious kids that were more chilled out, and some of them were modern Orthodox, some of them were religious but a little bit more rebelly, and some of them were Baal Teshuvahs, and I never fully recreated that again. Like, you would see, like, singing like crazy, like the women and the men were separated, but then they were singing together, and it was loud, and it was ruch, and it was amazing, and it was beautiful, and I just never seen that again. And I've been trying to recreate it since, because Baal Teshuvahs don't know Jewish songs. They don't know Ana Hashem, Ki Ani Avtecha. But right, that's Kol Isha. I can't sing that. So anyways, where does it lead me? So then later in life, what did I do? Okay, so you know I did NCSY, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that was till 18. So then what did I do? Then I got straight into college, and I did community college. I never went to university. I became a registered nurse. But in between the nursing program, so you have to understand what Texas was like. I'm from Texas, or grew up mainly in Texas from 7 to 25 years old. This is what Texas looks like, okay? Religious kids go to seminary. They leave. Bye-bye. They're gone, right? Or Baal Teshuvahs that are seminary oriented. The secular people that I was friends with went to universities. We're bye-bye. We're gone. It was a ghost town for my age group, if that can imagine. So when I went to Israel, I did not know where I fit in denominationally in Judaism. My parents would call me traditional, and I was like, well, what the heck does that mean? You know? And I loved my parents, but an apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because I'm still somewhat in this weird mix of, I don't know. So I went to Israel, and I did a birthright trip, and I told them to put me on Mayor, but they said, no, we can't do that. So I was like, why not? I know I'm going to fit into this group a little bit more, because based on my religious, I was a little bit like where I would wear long skirts and all these things, and I just looked weird, you know? So I ended up going on a UT Austin trip, where I'm not from Austin, I'm from like a suburb of Dallas, right? And everyone ignored me. Yeah. They were not interested in making friends at all. I was like part of the, like, you could call it rejects. And that is my Israel experience. And you imagine this person who wants to connect and wants to grow. But the thing I was looking for more than anything wasn't to build a relationship with God. I had that. Like, I experienced enough loneliness in my life to figure out what connection to God means. And I was looking for connection between man and man. That's really what I was looking for. I was trying to find my people. So I went to Israel, and I go on this trip, and I'm I even went to spa, and they left me. They didn't even notice I was gone. I called my mom crying like a baby. I was just turning 21 at the time, and now I'm 29. And they were like, you forgot her. And they realized they counted, and they realized they literally had to go back on spot and find me. And even like when I went to the Bedouin tents, I ditched my own group and hung out with the other group, and they didn't even notice. Like, that really tells you something is wrong emotionally. But okay. And I did really enjoy the other group, actually. So then I went to seminary. Oh, yeah, the kids didn't like that I said I was going to seminary. I, said the wrong words, because I wanted to learn. I wanted to grow. I wanted to figure out where I fit into this religious spectrum, which was not enough time. My father wouldn't let me go to seminary, which a full year would have been good for me, I think. Like, being a nurse one less year would have not been so crazy. And I went to an ACE program for Jewel. And, it was okay, but I never really got close with any particular girl, and they all went to colleges, and I just didn't fit in. Again, it was kind of an insane experience. It was just really hard because I didn't relate to this college experience, and I realized how crazy that was. Because now that I'm older, I'm oh wow. I'm so glad that time period of my life passed. I know that sounds terrible because you're oh, every point in life matters and you don't want to waste it and all this stuff, but you're honestly, it was really that bad. And I remember davening, being get me through nursing school. I need to make money so I can move to a frum community, and I need to get to the place I want to go, and I want to have freedom and all that jazz. And then after the Jewel program, that was 3 weeks, which is basically ACE Essentials. You know what I did? I went to, that's right. I went to seminary with Chabad Mayanot, and I learned to translate, which was very hard for me. And I would study from morning to evening. And you know what I learned? I learned that I just wanted to connect to people around me and have a purpose in this world. And that's when I was really honestly ready to go back home. Because I really wanted to have a J internship, and I really wanted to go to Midrash Rachel, but I didn't go because I didn't have an internship to do because I wanted to become a nurse, and it was this whole balagan of what to do. So that was basically, I don't want to sound like a kvetcher, but so now fast forward, I, had a lot of dating experiences. I always dated on the edge religiously or whatever, and now I'm married to Baal Teshuvah. Surprise, surprise. So he's a Baal Teshuvah from college age. And my husband. And, I'm hanging out with these kollel guys, and I'm just not feeling it. And I'm not inspired. And I am looking for people to emulate that I want to grow into. And there's a few that I found that are amazing, but they're not kollel. And they're not, no offense. I respect people from all different backgrounds, kind of, but there is, I'm sure there's no one who's going to put a video that is so freaking daring out there like this, but it's super lonely. You sit at a Shabbos table and you go, the woman, no one talks. You just go, and here I'm just like this. Okay, so tell me, if anybody's watching this, how does that open up my spirituality? To be in a home, that is so inspiring. I'm so inspired. But anyways, I just wanted there to be one authentic person on the internet that really says how the experience is. So anyways, I still believe, I did listen to a speech yesterday. I went to this home, and this teacher, I guess, she said she used to work at Neve, and she said Judaism is a connection, a relationship, not a religion. And that really resonated to me, because sometimes I feel so now I'm seeing the whole world differently. Now I'm okay, so I was right all along, and that the fact that I'm seeking connections and feeling I want to be seen and to connect and feel I'm not the only one out here thinking like this or feeling like this. And also religiously, me and my husband are very similar, but the truth is there's a gender difference. So if I was a man, yeah, I'd be into this. I'd be so excited. I get it, But I'm a woman, and I'm standing behind a mechitza, and the girls aren't singing, and there's no camaraderie. And what happened to my younger years, NCSY or just Camp Sternberg, where they are singing loud. And that's a big part of my Judaism is to connect. And maybe I'm connecting to God sometimes, but what about my fellow ladies out there? Anyways, peace out. This may be too authentic, but sorry about that. All right, thanks, bye.